The Mega Man franchise, specifically the classic series, is my favorite video game series of all time. I've played all the mainline games more times I can count, and have done Buster Only and No Death runs for each of the games. Though I enjoy playing every game, the 8-bit games are the ones I enjoy playing the most. The FC versions of Rockman 7 and 8 are included in this list because I believe they are better than the originals. I don't have anything against the original Mega Man 7 and 8, I just find Rockman 7 and 8 FC to be more fun because they're removable of some of the more bothersome features the original games have. With all that said, this video is going to be a ranking of all 10 of the original 8-bit Mega Man games, 1 through 6 for the NES, Rockman 7 and 8 FC, as well as Mega Man 9 and 10 for the Wii. I got the idea to do this video after finishing up my Rockman Forte FC DMake video, and though I won't rank that one officially on the list, I'm not ignoring it, I just don't want to rank something that I had a part in making. One last thing before I get started. This video is a ranking of my personal enjoyment of each of the games, not a ranking of quality. I don't think I have the authority to decide which Mega Man game is the best all-around quality-wise. That's for someone else to decide. This is my opinion, so if you don't agree with me, that's okay. Just because I may rank one of your favorite games low doesn't mean I'm saying the game is bad, I'm just saying that I myself don't enjoy as much as some of the other ones I've ranked higher. With all that out of the way, here is my ranking of all 10 original 8-bit Mega Man games, ranked from worst to best. I hate to pick on Rockman 8 FC, but one game had to take the bottom slot, and this is the one. For starters, let's look at what it did right. Like 7FC, 8FC removes all the unnecessary bullcrap the original Mega Man 8 had. No intro stage, no mid stage, and all 8 rope matches were available from the start. The stupid midpoint system with the original 8 has also been removed, so the stages are no longer split into 2 halves. In addition to this, a few of the stages are cut down for their original length. Astroman only has 1 maze section, Frostman only has 1 snowboarding section, and some of Swordman's rooms are removed. I personally like this change, as stages in this game are already long to begin with, and some of the extra stuff felt like padding. Now for the bad. Rockman 8 FC is easily the hardest of the 10 games, but not in a fun and fair way. For example, health only refills 8 HP instead of 10, enemies do way more damage than the original Mega Man 8, and the charge shot does 2 damage instead of 3. It may not sound like a lot, but these things add up over a playthrough. This combined with some of the hardest stage obstacles in all of Mega Man makes it the hardest of the 10 to go through without dying. So difficult in fact, that in all my playthroughs I've only done it once. Overall, I don't hate this game by any means, I still enjoy playing it, but it's definitely the worst of the 10. Mega Man 5 is the opposite of Rockman 8 FC. Rockman 8 FC is a very difficult game because of its level design and setup. Mega Man 5 is just a boring game. They have neat gimmicks like the gravity flips and jet ski, but have a lot of downright uninteresting stages as well. Sunman stage is the best example of this, as the stage is long and has nothing to do or look at for 95% of it. By the time you get to the Wily stages, you'll be so burned out you'll be begging for the game to end. In addition to uninspired levels, Mega Man 5 also has some of the easiest bosses in Mega Man history. The only real master in this game that can give you any sort of trouble is Chargeman because his ridiculous number of iframes. Every other boss is outright pathetic, even the Fortress bosses. 3 of the 4 Darkman bosses in Proto Man's Castle are easier with the Mega Buster. Which leads me to the weapons. Mega Man 5 has the worst weapon selection of any Mega Man game I've played. The weapons are either ground-based, unwieldy, copies of Mega Man 4 weapons, or some of the worst Mega weapons of all time. The best weapon in this game is the Mega Buster, as it's overpowered and rips to most enemies and bosses more than their actual weaknesses. In a game where 50% of its design philosophy is attaining and using weapons, this is a major disappointment, and one of the reasons I rank this game so low. Mega Man 6. How I wish I could rank you higher. Let's start with the positives. Mega Man 6 is easily the best looking of all the NES Mega Man games. All the backgrounds are lively, and the fact that Roadmaster stages take place in different countries adds the uniqueness of this game. The music is also top tier. Mega Man 4 and 5 have underwhelming soundtracks in my opinion. Mega Man 6 knocks it out of the park. Even with a different country's theme, every track has a distinct feel and represents the stage and area perfectly. Nightman and Flame Man in particular are some of the best examples of this. Although I've praised the Roadmaster stages a lot so far, that's where the game kind of falls off for me. The Mr. X stages are some of the most boring and uninspired levels we ever play in a Mega Man game. It doesn't help that all the stages use the same track, and the bosses for levels are cakewalks. The weapons in Mega Man 6 are barely a step up from Mega Man 5. There are some decent ones, but half or less good versus weapons from previous games. All of this I could forgive, but there's one more fatal flaw I haven't mentioned yet. The controls in this game are horrendous. Every other game beforehand that lets you slide, lets you jump out of it. Here, when you're sliding, you're a sitting duck. It feels so clunky to control Mega Man in general in this game. Everything from the buster to walking feels off. I would actually place Mega Man 6 above the next entry if it wasn't for the control. It's that bad. Mega Man 4 seems to be the new game emerging as everyone's favorite from the original NES Xology, and for good reason. It has a high production value, with it adding more cutscenes and opening describing the events of the game, and more cinematic moments in general. I can definitely understand why Mega Man 4 gets a lot of love these days. It's a great game. However, me personally, I've never enjoyed it as much as some of the other games. I can admit it's a good game, but this list is based on my personal enjoyment, and I personally just don't enjoy Mega Man 4 that much. Why is that? Well, for starters, the setup is the exact same as Mega Man 5 and 6. 8 Robot Masters followed by 4 Fake Castle stages and 4 Wily stages. It isn't Mega Man 4's fault that the other games copied its setup, but in today's world where all the games are available, it really makes Mega Man 4 feel samey to those games. Especially since they share similar screen clear and shield weapons. The last thing I'll critique is the speed of the game in general. Mega Man 4 just feels super slow, at least compared to the other 8-bit games. Screen transitions and the boss health filling up feel like they take an eternity, and they really add up over a playthrough. Sorry Mega Man 4 fans, I like this game, but not as much as the other ones on this list. Mega Man 10 is one of the harder games to rank for me. On one hand, it has some of the best level designing music in the series. On the other hand, it has a fair share of straight up unfun, annoying stages with some lackluster weapons. Don't get me wrong, some of the weapons in this game are pretty good, but then there are ones like Thunderbolt, which is one of the worst Mega Man weapons of all time. With it being the 10th numbered entry and all, they really went all out. Almost all the composers from the previous games came back in and composed the track, which led to some of the best Mega Man stage themes ever. Another feature 10 has is the inclusion of the extra special stages, carried over from Mega Man 9. Here, you fight the Mega Man killers, and can even use their weapons in the stages. Mega Man 10 also has a sense of finality to it. It can be felt with the music, with songs like Wily 3, which has to be my favorite Wily stage theme of all time. And the ending, which has you traversing through a space station above the Wily Castle, complete with a super long intro. Dr. Wily's character is even redeemed at the end of the game. And with the whole virus setup, it felt like it could have been a perfect end to classic Mega Man. I'm happy that Mega Man 11 exists, but if they wanted to end classic Mega Man, they couldn't have picked a better way to do it. I am by no means a hater of the original Mega Man 7, but it had a lot of design choices that just sucked. The inclusion of the intro and mid-stages, huge sprites, ridiculously long cutscenes after beating Robot Masters, as well as splitting the Robot Masters into 2 halves, were all stupid decisions in my book. If any of those things with the original Mega Man 7 annoyed you, Rockman 7 FC fixes all of that. For my money, Rockman 7 FC is the true Mega Man 7 experience. It has all the charm of the original Mega Man 7, but the things that a lot of people complain about. On its own, there isn't a lot to complain about. The new item placements all make sense, the music is catchy, maybe more so than the original, and the game is just all around fun. It has a few weird quirks, like differing sprites for bass and slash band, but since official games couldn't get those right sometimes, I'd say there's no harm, no foul. For a fan game that was released back in 2008, before the official Mega Man 9, I'd say it's pretty dang good. And if you're ever turned off from the original Mega Man 7 for whatever reason, give this version a shot, I guarantee you won't regret it. Mega Man 9 was the first classic Mega Man game since the release of Mega Man and Bass in 1998 in Japan, so to say the series was in hibernation would be an understatement. Despite the long gap between releases, there was almost zero series rust. Mega Man 9, for a game released so long after the NES era, captures the look and feel of those games perfectly. The music, bosses, and level design are all spot on. Mega Man 9 goes back to the Mega Man 1 and 2 era of controls, which is a problem for some, but I don't mind. The game is designed around Mega Man not having these abilities, so there is never anything that feels that it can't be avoided without a slight charge. If I had to critique Mega Man 9 at all, I would have to criticize that the game is an acquired taste. Unless you're going in with a ton of prior knowledge in the game and the hazards, your first couple playthroughs are going to be rough. There are a few rooms that can be described as nothing but gotcha traps. However, subsequent playthroughs are a lot more fun since you're ready for these obstacles. Once you've gotten used to the handful of cheap rooms, you start to realize all the good things this game has. The level design is creative and fun, the bosses are all a fair challenge, the music is amazing, and the weapons are some of the best in the series. Although it may not be a good starting point for beginners, it's one of the most fun to go back to and repeat playthroughs, and well deserving a number 4 spot. A lot of you might be surprised to see the original Mega Man this far up on the list. I'll be the first to admit, the game isn't the best by modern standards. Even by the standards of other NES games, Mega Man 1 lacks a lot of the features that would become staples in other games. It only has 6 Robot Masters, a point system, and a style of boss rush that only appeared in 2 other games after. Despite all of this, I still find Mega Man 1 to be a ton of fun. Besides the number 1 entry, it's the game I played the most, and the only one I beat without taking damage. Now let's get to the negatives. Mega Man 1 has some really good weapons like Firestorm and Thunder Beam, but also has some duds like Hyper Bomb and Super Arm. Hyper Bomb takes forever to explode, and Super Arm can only be used when the Guts blocks are around, meaning it can only be used in 4 stages, no matter how many weapon areas you have. The other complaint is the only having 6 Robot Masters thing. When the game was being designed, the plan was to have a full set of 8 like all the preceding games, but due to time constraints, 2 had to be cut. The PSP remake of the game eventually gave us Time Man and Oil Man to bring the number up to 8, but in the original game, there's no way to play their stages. Unless you play the game like I do and play Electman and Cutman stages twice to simulate them being in the game. Either way, it's weird and doesn't really solve the problem. Even so, I still find Mega Man 1 to be an incredibly fun game, one that deserves to be in my top 3. And no, the Yellow Devil isn't hard. Mega Man 3 has become one of the more divisive games in Mega Man fans today, with people generally think it's one of the best or one of the worst. Judging by its placement on this list, how would you guess how I feel about this game? Mega Man 3 was an introduction for characters like Rush and Proto Man who would become staples. It overall just feels like a big adventure. You had the 8 Robot Master stages, 5 intermission stages, and 6 Wily stages. That comes to a total of 19, making it the classic game with the most number of overall stages. Despite the large number of stages, runs of the game barely break an hour. That's because Mega Man's 3 stages are generally on the shorter side. Some only take a few minutes to complete, and some are only 1 to 3 screens long, like Breakman and the 56 Wily stages. The game's length is normally cited as an issue, but the game is shorter than everything else that comes after it, so I don't really get that complaint. The real complaints come after the 8 Robot Master stages are defeated. After you beat the initial 8, you're forced to revisit 4 of them to traverse newly designed levels of 2 Mega Man 2 bosses per stage to fight. After you do this, you go through the shortest Mega Man stage ever before going through one of the easiest Wily castles in the series. The Dark Robot stages and Wily stages are a huge sore spot for a lot of people. While I understand your complaints, I don't agree with them. Despite sharing level assets, most of the actual level design is different. And as for the Wily Castle, Mega Man 6's Wily Castle is just as easy, if not easier. Overall, Mega Man 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, but I think 1 is better. I'm sure a good portion of you have already lived with me as a Mega Man 2 fanboy and won't listen to a word I say, but that's alright. Despite being labeled as overrated, boring, bad, and every other negative descriptor, I continue to see it as my favorite Mega Man game of all time, as well as my favorite game of all time. There's just so much about this game to love for me. Every time I play this game, it's fun from beginning to end. The music, the Robot Masters, the weapons, the stages, it's all a blast. Now that I've gushed, let's address some of the criticism. One of the major criticisms is the Metal Blade being overpowered, and while I agree it's a little broken, the other weapons also rule. The air shooter wipes out the annoying Sub Zero armors as well as enemies that are above you. The Quick Boomerang is high damage dealing and has tons of ammo, the Leaf Shield is good for anywhere where there are swarms of enemies, and the Bullet is good for taking out enemies that have a lot of health like the Spring Guys, Cyber Toads, and Robots. Now it's time to address the elephant in the room, the Boo Beam Trap. It sucks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Does it ruin the game though? No. And before you say it's turn off to new players or whatever, I was a victim of the Boo Beam Trap, and I don't cry about it to this day. It's an annoying boss, but once you learn it, it's not a problem, like most things in Mega Man. Also, it's far from the only time a weapon is required to proceed, so I don't know why this one gets so much crap. Probably because it's the most well-known example. In conclusion, is Mega Man 2 perfect? No. Is it the best Mega Man game ever made? No. Is it my favorite Mega Man game? Yes. If you actually made it to the end of this video somehow, thanks for watching. If you disagree with me, good. I'd love for you to tell me what's your favorite Mega Man game, or tell me my opinion is trash. Anyway, we're going to dislike this video, and I'll see you whenever I feel like uploading again.